This right here is the Oppo X9 Ultra, and I've been daily driving this since its release, and it's been doing everything for me, from social media to gaming to capturing photos and everything else in between. But a few weeks ago, I actually packed this up and popped my SIM and my new daily driver into this on a Magic V6, and I have a lot of thoughts. And on the back of the Fold 8 and Fold 8 Ultra release, you're probably thinking, I'm gonna pre-order one of those. But if I was you, I would hold on just a minute until you've seen the entirety of this video, and then you can make up your mind, because having used this for a number of weeks, I have some thoughts. Unlike first and second gen foldables, when it comes to things like durability, there is no compromises when it comes to the V6, and it's vastly improved. First of all, the color in this stunning red with these gold accents is so sick, but it's also IP68 and IP69 rated, which means you can use this phone when it's soaking wet and have no issues at all, which is pretty sick. And you don't compromise on other things. So for example, even when it's folded, it's 9mm, and unfolded, it is a claimed 4.1mm thick, but I think it's probably a little bit thicker than that, to be completely honest. And then weight is just 224 grams, which actually, from our daily driver X9 Ultra, is actually a downgrade in weight. Then the main draw of any foldable will of course be its panels. The external panel here is a 6.52 inch 120Hz LTPO panel with 6,000 nits of peak brightness, and the compromises don't exist internally either, because inside you get a 7.95 inch 120Hz LTPO panel with 5,000 nits of peak brightness, all gazump the Fold 8 Ultra in every way minus the size. But in terms of crispness and quality, it's amongst the best in the industry when it comes to foldables. But the other thing here is, if you're watching content internally or externally, it's super crisp, detailed, stunning visuals, a brightness at max even outdoors, which you probably use it best there, looks really, really good. Now there is no anti-reflective coating here on the display, so you do get quite a lot in the way of reflections, but generally speaking, the internal and external screens look really, really good. However, if you are playing content on the internal screen on a massive 7.9-inch display, there is no real benefit to it versus your standard candy bar phone, primarily because the top and bottom borders are so big, because the aspect ratio is set in such a way that it doesn't cater for a lot of content in that 16:9 ratio. And to quickly touch on one thing, the crease. Now it is still pretty fairly prominent here. You can see it at the right angle here. It is lessened versus something like the V5, but it is prominent here, and nowhere near as invisible or less visible like the Oppo N6 or the new announced Fold 8 Ultra. The biggest benefit of any foldable, and this foldable in particular, the V6, is its ability to use that internal display for things like multitasking. Now, it runs very, very well. Magic OS is doing a great job here, and in fact, dragging the bar at the top of a window left or right to create a multi-window scenario is very fast and smooth. The transition is excellent and almost never failed us in any way. If you look at the bottom left-hand corner, when unfolded, you have an icon here that when you tap, allows you to instantaneously create a multitasking scenario. You can use 2 or even 3 apps, which are fully resizable at any point, to allow you to see 3 things at the exact same time and do 3 things at the exact same time. Even swiping left and right and transitioning between those apps to see what you have in the main view works very, very well. And again, as mentioned, fully resizable. One of the weird quirks that we did have with this V6, pretty odd, is when the phone was locked and we picked it up and we unlocked the external display, sometimes when we open it up to the internal display, it still required another fingerprint unlock. Really weird, happened a handful of times, but pretty odd. And let's expand a bit more on Magic OS 10. Genuinely, on a foldable, it's great. Primarily because you get all of the AI benefits. Things like Magic Portal generally work really, really well here. Being able to drag a screenshot into, say, your gallery or your messages or your notes works fluidly and very, very well. One really cool feature is the ability to just double tap or tap the power button to create AI suggestions. As a shortcut, you get things like circle to search here, or you can go into your suggestions, and there is a number of options here where you can do things like AI memories, for example, capture a screenshot and refer to it later on. All of that works very, very well. You also get 7 OS updates and security updates, so right up there with what Samsung and Apple are offering, which is absolutely incredible. And then we have to go to another really weird software quirk. When this phone is connected to any Bluetooth device, be it your car, like the Tesla that we drive, or a pair of earphones, you get a persistent notification there permanently in the drop-down menu. Is permanently there. You can't swipe it, you can't get rid of it, it just lives there permanently. Very weird bug. I think it's a bug and should not exist, but you kind of get over it after a few uses that it just lives there. But it's pretty odd that it exists, and I've never seen it on another phone unlike this. The other thing that we notice is if you get a notification and it's an adjustment from the X9 Ultra in terms of OS, normally we would just swipe away any notification. Here you have to swipe, then tap the delete button, which takes that little bit longer as an extra press and does feel a little less fluid than what rivals like the Oppo are offering. On the performance front, there is no compromise when it comes to the V6 because you get the Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5, you also get 80 watts of wired, 66 watts of wireless charging, and all of that works incredibly well. And battery life, 6,850 milliamp hour here, works insanely well because you can do that perfect balance between media and work at all times. In fact, using this phone to play back content for over an hour with max brightness topped out, it barely made a difference to the phone. In fact, having this phone, used it for roughly 5 hours on the day of filming, we still had over 69% battery left over, which means legitimately this is a 2-day phone, even if you are consuming a lot of media on the internal display panel and even at max brightness. One thing that's very underrated when it comes to V6 is its gaming capabilities. Not because it can handle gaming, because just how good it is. Because essentially unfolded, you're getting a low-key hybrid version of a tablet/phone, and gaming on here is awesome, primarily because you get that bigger display, but it also means you get a super thin profile here, which means gaming on here, holding this in the hand for a long period of time feels really, really good. You get great FPS, great graphics, and sound. Let us know in the comment section your thoughts on the sound output of the V6. On the rear, you get that stunning red panel, but also you get a pretty large camera housing, which houses a triple camera system, 50 megapixel main, 3x periscope telephoto at 64 megapixels, and a 50 megapixel ultra wide. And the breakdown of these triple cameras is pretty great. The main lens outputs really nice, detailed and vibrant images with a ton of detail, and I actually took this with me to Impact and it didn't film me at all. Great detail, and even in dark spaces the quality and detail was not lost, and both sides of those images don't have any noise at all. Then the 3x telephoto at 70mm again delivers really good results and isn't all that different from what you get from the main lens in terms of detail, vibrancy, and it is none of that weird artificial look. In fact, the telephoto outputs here at the very best that we've used, in all fairness, and even the zoom range, which is then digital, you do get over processing, but it doesn't look overly bad and overly AI is probably the best way I could describe it. The ultra wide here, and like most lenses, does a really good job in daylight, and you don't get any awkward soft edges or warping. All of the lenses here are very good, and even the video on the main lens is really impressive. 4K 30 here, looks detailed with tons of great colors, and again, no weird vibrancy or over processing at all. The front camera on the front screen performs equally as well, and as good as the other lens in terms of crisp details. Really good skin detection and skin color here, to be fair, and keeps that natural looking look without any weird beauty filters or modes. No weird AI processing here at all, although you can enable that if you wanted to. I would say overall the lenses on the V6 are probably the best foldable lenses we've ever used, and right up there with your traditional all-out balls to the wall camera smartphone. So the question is, did I swap my V6 back to my X9 Ultra? In all honesty, yes, but not for the reasons you may think, primarily because what are the main selling points of the V6? Things like multitasking, productivity. I don't actually use my phone for that in any way. That's reserved for my laptop at home. But if you're someone who wants to be able to do all the productivity components on your phone, have great cameras, insane battery life, brilliant overall performance, and a build and durability that's at the very best out there, then the Honor Magic V6 is a genuine no-brainer, primarily because it sits at such a lower cost compared to something like another foldable. Even if you factor things from Vivo, Motorola, Samsung, is significantly cheaper, and there is no compromise here in any way, shape, or form. The only downside is those two little weird software quirks that we mentioned. The rest of this phone is pretty great. We've got a video landing soon of this compared to the Fold 8 Ultra, comparing your on all fronts in a very detailed hands-on review, so keep an eye out on the channel for that. But we want you to let us know in the comment section below your thoughts on foldables and in general the Honor Magic V6 and just how impressive a package this is for the price they're charging. Let us know below. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Until the next one, as always, we out.